Hey noble ones, welcome to the Academy. So, since I've started this wonderful series that will never end, and today we are on episode 7, people keep telling me, Metatron, you've got to do Argentinian Spanish. Come on. It's basically just Spanish spoken as if you were an Italian, like an Italian speaking Spanish. It's the closest one to Italian. It's Spanish, Italian, Argentina, Italy. So, is this a myth or is it true? Is it true that Argentinian Spanish is in fact the Spanish variety that will be the easiest one for an Italian to understand? Well, in order to address that, we seriously need an Italian. I wonder where we could find one. Without further ado, let's try and watch a few videos by some people from Argentina speaking in Spanish and see how much I can understand as an Italian. Let's go.
Hola a todos, soy Michelle y hoy vamos a aprender un poquito más sobre el español de Argentina.
So far 100%. Is the wizard back?
Si estás pensando en viajar a Argentina, si ya vivís en Argentina o si te da curiosidad o te interesa esta cultura, este video es para vos. Ahora quiero aclarar una cosa antes de empezar. Para venir a Argentina...
So I want to clarify a thing before we begin. If you come to Argentina...
No es necesario hablar como un argentino.
It's not necessary, it's not needed to speak like an Argentinian.
Nosotros entendemos naturalmente cualquier dialecto del español.
We understand clearly every dialect within Spanish. My gosh! I understand everything. Besides, I've got to admit, it has a familiar sound to it. Like the way I want to say, it's still early in this video. I'm going to have to watch a few more and listen to more Argentinian to be 100% sure, but I think it might be the way they extend or stress accentuate some vowels. They do it in a way that I think is actually quite close to the way we do it. I'll give you a confirmation on that. This is my first take after 10 seconds. Let's go.
Pero pienso que este video te puede ayudar, te puede servir a la hora.
But I think that this video can help you. It can servir, yeah, you could use it, basically, like servire in Italian. I just can't think of a good equivalent in English, but yes, I understand it.
Hora de entender a la gente de Argentina.
When you try to understand people in Argentina.
En este video me voy a referir al español rioplatense, que es...
So in this video, she's going to refer to the Spanish in the variety Rio something Spaniense, Rio Platense, which must be a select. I mean, she's going to explain it now. So far, I'm understanding everything. This is insane.
Es el español que se habla en la mayor parte del centro y del sur.
It's the Spanish that is spoken in the majority of la maggior parte, just like in Italian. She said maggior parte. We would say maggior parte. It is, oh, that's insane. And that, in fact, that that she's using, I think it's called, it has a name for it, but I think it's one of the characteristics of the way they speak in Argentina, I believe in Uruguay, and perhaps in a couple of other places, but mostly I think that's one of the, also another characteristic apart from the overall intonation of this specific type, but that is not a problem for me. In fact, it makes it even easier for me to understand. Okay, it might be true, but I don't want to speak too early.
Centro y del sur de la Argentina.
In the center, in the south of Argentina, it's this variety. Okay, great.
Argentina es un país muy grande.
So Argentina is a very big country.
Aproximadamente 2.700.000 kilómetros.
It has approximately 2,700,000
kilómetros cuadrados.
Square kilometers.
Cuadrados, con lo cual es de esperarse que no todos hablemos igual.
So I think she's saying that because of the fact that it's so big, not everyone speaks the same way.
Todos hablemos de la misma manera.
We don't all speak in the same way. Yeah, I'm understanding. So far, maybe because she's a teacher, so she's making it a little easier, but still, I'm watching a video in a completely different language, and yet I'm understanding everything, and I'm not trained in Spanish, particularly in Argentinian Spanish. I mean, I have a little bit of high school studies in like Madrid Spanish, a little bit, but this is actually easier than the Madrid variety that I studied at school. For me, magic.
En Argentina hay unos 5 o 6 dialectos del español que se pueden...
So in Argentina they have 5 or 6 dialects of Spanish.
Pueden diferenciar fácilmente, ¿no?
They can be easily differentiated.
Como el cuyano, el norteño, el guaranítico.
Now, of course, now she's saying she's kind of making a list of all the different types of dialects, and these words I'm not familiar with, although when she says norteño, I imagine it's something in the north. The others are probably named after the places, and because I'm not familiar with Argentinian geography, I don't understand it, but I do understand exactly what she's talking about, so that's not a language barrier, it's a geography barrier, if anything. So far, she's so clear. She's so clear to me. Of course, this doesn't necessarily represent the way every person in Argentina speaks, but so far, what I'm learning from these 2 minutes of my first exposure to Argentinian Spanish is if I speak to a person who is probably like educated and they speak clearly, not necessarily super slow. I mean, she's not speaking super fast, but she's not speaking in an unnatural, super slow way either. So if they speak medium speed, I would imagine that the way she pronounces things is actually very gentle to my ears as an Italian. And this is fascinating considering the fact that she's from a completely other section of the world. We're gonna move on to another video, though I actually really like this video. She's doing a great job. You should totally go and subscribe to Español con Michelle.
Una vez yo estaba en México hablando con otro argentino y una
One time I was in Mexico speaking to other Argentinians.
chica que estaba escuchando dijo, parece que cantan cuando...
And a girl who was listening to us said, it sounds as if they are singing when they speak. Yeah, I understood him 100%. And also, again, I am having strong impressions and confirmation of what I was saying before, que cantan. Like he stresses, when the vowel is stressed, there seems to be a phenomenon of increased volume and possibly increased length and emphasis, which would be something in common with Italian, because yes, people exaggerate it when they make fun of the Italian accent and then they do it too much, but it is true that Italians, when there is a stressed vowel, you know, we increase the volume without even thinking about it, it's just automatic, and we do have this similar approach. So let's see what he's going to say about the thing with Italian. That would be interesting to see his point of view.
Do we speak as if we were singing? I think this is what Megan was talking about in the introduction. De dónde sos, cuándo llegás, ta 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 ta. Some people say that Argentinians sound as Italians speaking Spanish, and it makes sense. Most of us are descended from Italians, and this is related with puesto número 4, italianismos. Not only the intonation remains from the Italian immigration, we use, especially in the informal register, many words from Italian or the different dialects. Cerveza es birra, trabajo...
Birra, yes. Oh, that's phenomenal. You can say both cerveza or cerveza, whatever, to mean beer, but you also have birra, and that's fantastic because in Italian we say birra, so yeah, that makes it a lot easier for me if you freaking use the same words. It's wonderful.
Laburo, una persona muy capaz, un capo, chico.
Interesting. So the fact that trabajo, which means work or job, work probably becomes laburo. Yes, we say lavoro in Italian. So yeah, the switching of B and V, I mean, that happens a lot with Spanish. In Italy, it's mostly the way it's written. If it's a V, it's always V. If it's a B, it's always B. But in Spanish, depending on the variety and depending on where it is, in the position, if it's in the intervocalic position, if it's at the beginning, then sometimes the B is read as a V and the V is read as a B. It becomes a little hard, particularly for someone like me. As an Italian, probably that's one of the main differences between an Italian actually trying to speak Spanish and for example, an Argentinian. Definitely. An Argentinian seems to be a lot closer to an Italian. I can see that. Like, I agree. But then again, an Argentinian being native would probably switch the B's and the V's in a way that an Italian wouldn't. I would just read it as it's written, which I think is interesting. Anyways, yes, lavoro is work, so absolutely closer. When he says that a persona capaz, so like a capable person, a person who's, you know, good at doing something, and they say capo, I don't say capo in Italian. I mean, capo is just a chief. That's what it means. So I don't know if there is any specific dialect or regional language in Italy that uses that expression and then they got it from there. But in standard Italian, capo is just, hey, capo. It's like, it's not a capable person. It's a chief or a captain.
Chico, pibe, mujer, mina, comer.
That one too, pibe, don't understand it. Min for mujer, so for a woman. But he did say that they come from dialects. So this must come from a regional dialect that I'm not familiar with, because a woman is donna in Italian.
Mangiar o morfar.
Y ese libro, bueno, me lo morfé en una hora y
Qué
media.
capa esta mina, ¿eh?
Like, yeah, he called her capa. I wouldn't say that. Che brava, that's what I would say. But yeah, it's interesting that it sounds a lot like mangiare, to eat, if you use this informal variety of Argentinian. So, what this is teaching me is that if I'm speaking to an Argentinian person in an informal scenario, then I'll probably recognize so many more words in Argentinian without having any training in Spanish than I would in other varieties of Spanish. With that being said, probably if I were to go to a lecture at university where I suppose people wouldn't use this informal register, but professors and teachers would use a higher register, then that could make it a little harder for me as an Italian speaker to understand it. Let's move to another video. And now we're gonna make it difficult. I found a vlogger. Usually they speak like a machine gun. Let's see if my theory is real, and maybe if you increase speed a lot, it's gonna make it a little difficult.
Hola gente, ¿cómo están? Bueno, como ven en el titulillo de este videillo nuevo, el día de hoy es mi cumpleaños. Voy a festejar.
Okay, so it's definitely harder for me to understand now. She's speaking super fast, and of course she said welcome people to this video, and then she said it's her birthday, but there are a lot of words that I just didn't pick up, because of course it still is a different language, and so when you increase speed so much, particularly in a vlogger, maybe even gamer type of scenario, and you start putting possibly slangs, then I'm starting to lose it a little bit. So far, 100%. Now, it's kind of, the scale is going down a bit. Let's see how it continues.
Mi cumpleaños fue ayer y lo voy a festejar. Decidí un día regalarme lo que yo quiero. Hay personas que saben que a mí no me gusta festejar mi cumpleaños.
So, I think she said I want to gift myself a day where I do what I want. I believe that's what she said. Let me know if I got it wrong.
Festejar mi cumpleaños por un hecho de que en el cumpleaños siempre tenés que hacer lo mismo, siempre te tenés que dividir. Bueno, a la mañana voy a desayunar con tal, al almuerzo tal, y al final no disfrutas un huevo. Así que decidí.
Okay, I don't know why she said egg. I don't know if it's an expression, but generally speaking, yes, I kind of. It's much harder now and I need to really focus and I am missing words, but I think she's saying that usually, even if it's your birthday, you tend to do things, or she tends to do things, I don't know if she's speaking generically or about herself specifically, she tends to do things like go this place, do this thing, and buy this thing. She didn't say buy, but I'm saying you do things that you normally don't really like to do, and I suppose that's what she's trying to say. She's trying to say today is my day, I want to do what I want, but I don't know why she said egg.
Ayer sí, pasarlo con las personas que lo tenía que pasar. Y hoy es mi regalo. Además me quería regalar algo. Quería hacer algo que de verdad quiera. El plan del día es el siguiente. Ahora me levanté tarde.
Okay, so she repeated the same thing. She wants to do, this is a gift to herself, to have a day where she can do what she wants. And now she said this is the plan for the day.
Después van a seguir pasando cosas. Estoy muy emocionada. Y eso que yo mi cumpleaños no estoy emocionada. Pero hoy lo siento como mi cumpleaños, aunque fue ayer. Cumplo 19. Miren lo que me regalaron por mi cumpleaños.
Is she 19 or something like that? Maybe. Okay, so this last section, when she was speaking again, super fast moving, there is a little music in the background, I'm starting to lose her. And it does take effort. But this is really not what we're trying to prove. The fact that it's taking some effort is what should have been the normal scenario. In fact, for how fast she's speaking, I shouldn't have understood anything, considering the fact that this is, again, now my third exposure to Argentinian Spanish. Instead, I'm still managing to understand it. So I think that we can say pretty confidently now that absolutely Argentinian Spanish is the easiest variety of Spanish for an Italian to understand. So far my experience was about 85% in Madrid Spanish, going up to an 87% in Catalan, but this, when it's spoken slowly, regularly, and in a maybe a little bit of an informal scenario, I can understand literally 100%, and then this 100% can go down sometimes to an 80, when in a situation like this, like a vlogger, maybe even a little lower. But if I did the same type of vlogging in Madrid Spanish, and possibly even in Catalan, I would say probably would go down to a 40%. So my experience so far, and this is definitely something I want to go back to and maybe watch some news, try to see how different registers affect my ability to understand. But so far I've got to say they were right. They were absolutely right. It does have, not only it's easier to understand, but it has a very familiar cadence to it, and sometimes the intonation, the way they seem to stress some words. I'll give you an example in Italian. A me piace cantare. I imagine they would say, a mí me gusta cantar. So, cantar, cantare. I feel there is a strong similarity between the intonations. Of course, it's a different language, and also in Italian we don't have just one intonation. We have lots of different types of intonations. But when you look at like standard Italian intonation, and then you listen to this, you can tell that there is a common route. And I have to agree with them, and so does my rigatoni Barilla approved. Argentinian is pasta approved. Alright, so that concludes this episode about Argentinian Spanish and Can an Italian Understand It? Let me know what you want to watch next. What's the next language? Let me know, and I'll see you tomorrow. And thank you for joining Metatron's Academy.